Welcome, viewers, to the BDB, which means Breaking the Diaspora Barriers. My name is Father Lameck, or Revd Canon Lameck Mutete from the Zimbabwe National Anglican Fellowship, which is based here in the United Kingdom. This is a podcast in which we're able to listen to voices from different people back from a small teapot-shaped country, which is Zimbabwe, the country that we all love. People who have moved into this country and they have got stories to share with us. These may be managers, nurses, directors, CEOs, etc., etc. And they've done exceptionally well. From whatever level, it's breaking diaspora barriers. And today, obviously, we'll be talking to an entrepreneur I will introduce here later. And all our discussions are based on Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, where the word of God says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper and not plans to destroy you. I have hope for you, and I'll be in a position to look after you." This is what Jeremiah was promised. And these people believe strongly that God walks with them. Today I have an entrepreneur, a director, a founder, Violet Gutu, who is a mentor, a counselor, loads of these titles. Violet, welcome to the podcast BDB.
Thank you very much. I am very honored to be with you today. My name is Violet Gutu, and I hold a lot of hats, but my main ones are that I am a mother, a wife, and a director for Penine Social Care and Revd Care.
Great. Take us back to your country of birth, that's in Zimbabwe. Maybe you never ever thought that one day you'd find yourself in this country. How did you grow up? Those humble beginnings, can you take us through?
Oof, that needs a whole day. But anyway, I was born to a single mother, so that was my first challenge. I remember being very young and my mother struggling to get a birth certificate for me. I'm not quite sure what the differences were between my mother and my father, but I struggled to get a birth certificate until I was about 8. So I grew up Violet Mwale, which is my maternal surname. Yeah. I was raised in a small mining town called Kamativi Tin Mine, somewhere near Victoria Falls, Binga. And I went to school there until I was grade 4. What I can say about myself from a very early onset was that I had no insight of the struggles of my background. So my mother, being a single mother, lived in a one-room house. But everybody I went to school with came from a very wealthy background. But because I was so confident, these are the people I hung out with. So one time a discussion was held about people going to this posh boarding school. And I said, I'm going to. There was no realization of my background that my mother wouldn't be able to afford it. At that point, the mining town paid fees for certain individuals. So I had no insight into this. And I went and I did this application and I got a place. And everybody else around me did not manage to go to this. And I remember that the place came very late just before school started, and my mother was I think she was apprehensive and confused, but she couldn't say no. And you know, when you went to boarding school, you had a trunk. I had the smallest trunk. It was about this big. One of the things that I remember, and I remember vividly, and I talk about it quite a lot, was the fact that my clothes needed to have name tags. But because it was so late and my mom could not afford to get me these name tags, she took all my clothes to this painter who had painted my trunk, and they were all painted VM. So I had these knickers that had VM in front of them. So when I went to this boarding school, I became very popular very quickly because I had I think, font size this much on all of my clothes, yeah. But I got there and I found myself in a big pool where the reality started to knock on that maybe I shouldn't be here, because I came across people who had trunks with food, a whole trunk with clothes, and I could almost count everything that I had.
So those were the years where you valued the physical item rather than what you have in your mind.
Yes, but that's the time I also made a decision that somebody has made this decision for me. I need to work with this decision. Yeah. I very quickly realized that this is the environment that I'm in, and I had to learn that I cannot disappoint either myself or the individual that's brought me to this space. One of the things I did, I accepted that this is where I come from. I'm here with people that don't come from the same background as me, but I can make it work. Mm-hmm. So I was quite okay with my small paper bag of tack. Do
you still have that trunk?
It's there somewhere. It's there somewhere. I'm sure if I searched for it at my grandmother's house, I'd find it.
We used to remember all these trunks on top of buses as you were going back to some of you. It was actually a privilege to go to a boarding school.
It was not only just this wasn't just a boarding school. It was what they termed an A school at that time. Yeah. So I also remember that when I got there, I was put, there's different classes, 5A, 5B, 5C, 5, and I was in special class. And I was put into special class by default. And within 2 weeks, the teacher that was teaching me said, no, she shouldn't be here. So I was moved within 2 weeks, and I was moved so they made me skip 5C2 and 5C, because it was grade 5, 5C2 and 5C1. And I went into 5B1. But then again, there I stayed for about a month, and I was moved to 5A. And I remember feeling like, oh, these are the champs. How am I going to do this? Yeah, but by the end of grade 5, I had been the top. There was just myself and another lady who is currently done a PhD, is a doctor in America, and yes, my competitor.
These are the people you went to school with?
Yeah, so as we progressed, finished primary school, my mother always faced, I just always remember that my life was full of challenges, as in I had 3 months of a good life, this life that was just different. Then I had these 30 days of holiday where I lived the reality of what my background really was. But there was a fight which I could see, and I kept pushing. So if you know me well, and anybody that knows me well knows how highly I hold my mother, because I realized that when it came to going to high school, it became a little bit difficult, and there was a few challenges, and she fought through. And again, another story I always tell is that when I then went to high school, she bought uniforms from someone else from the mining town who had finished their O-levels, and they were supposed to be green stripes, but these ones had been washed and they looked almost white. And I always remember that I stood with everybody who was in green, and I looked almost white. But then by this time, I started to accept that I need to fight. I need to keep going. I need to keep fighting. Then I got to Form 2, and one time my mother asked us to do the garden, and I was a bit reluctant. And she said to me, you're going to struggle in life. If you carry on like this, you don't want to do any gardening and anything. Then I said, I won't need to garden. People will work for me. Yeah. So I kind of prophesied something. But the journey continued, and it wasn't without other challenges along the way. There were so many other barriers that came into my life. At some point, I lost the original birth certificate, needed to have it redone. But what I always constantly remember is when I got to Form 4, there was a day when everybody in the dormitory went to a party. There was a party that was happening, and the gate was open, and everyone left.
And you're not supposed to go with your uniform there?
We were not supposed to go at all. I didn't go.
Okay, why?
The invite was extended to everybody. I couldn't bear the thought of coming and explaining, if anything was to ever go wrong, how would I explain it to my mother? It was very important to me. I learned from a very early onset that a lot was being sacrificed for my education. Yeah, and I had to take responsibility and accountability for it. And I just didn't think a party was worthy for me to be. So I finished my O-levels and did very well. Yeah, did very well. Came back to do A-levels, and it wasn't usual to become a head girl in the hostels at lower six, but I was nominated head girl both lower six and low. So I had the upper sixes waiting for me at the stairs. they had to turn around and check if the big boss was coming. Yeah, and then I was also a school prefect. These are all highlights that my mother was, I remember as the highlights of things that she was proud of me for. I finished my A-levels and I was blessed to have a sister-in-law, my sister and my brother-in-law who worked in Victoria Falls, and I got a job at the Elephant Hills.
Good. Just to go back a bit, what word of advice would you give to single parents who are struggling right now raising their children alone? Because you say you've got a very strong bond with your late mother. And I think maybe a single mom out there may want to hear something from you. Not because you're a single mom, raised by a single mom.
Yeah, not that I'm advocating for single moms, but sometimes I get very emotional and very disappointed because there's a perception, especially with our cultural background, that a single mom is not capable of raising anything. Most people always then quote the Bible and they quote they quote religion, and I just say, stand in the gap. Stand in the gap. You're quite well capable of looking after this child. I think if we have to put it in Shona, one of my painful memories growing up, I remember quite a lot the reference of Manasna Baba. Being made to myself, and also that sending a girl child, especially one Nasna Baba, wasn't a worthy investment. This was said quite a lot. It's something that I grew up hearing to the point that it became normal. But my mother was very resilient and resistant, and I think she had a vision. She must have looked and thought, I don't know whether it was, well, obviously it was God who gave her the guidance and the wisdom, but she had a vision and she invested quite a lot in me. When I say quite a lot, I say when my mother died, she had nothing but plates. Yeah, because...
But she had Violet.
She had Violet.
Yeah.
So I always say she didn't have a property or a house, but she had me. So, so she identified that this is what will take her to, let's identify that this is a worthy investment, and she did, and I'm very proud of her, and I respect her for that. And this is something that I would like single mothers to not shy away from, to make worthy investments where it's possible.
So in a nutshell, we are simply saying to single mothers, invest in your children. They will look after you tomorrow. Do not look at yourself as a single parent who is unable to look after your own children. Be there for them, walk with them, because tomorrow they will look after you as well. Even if God takes you, but you have left a legacy. And when you leave a legacy of a child who has been well looked after, who is well mannered, and if you are able to educate them, you have left a resource for life for the country and community as well as the family at large. Now, anyway.
And another thing which I don't want to forget to mention is I was also generally surrounded by love. Yeah, so even though I was in this environment where my father wasn't very existent at that time. He was towards the end, but yeah, that's a story for another day. But I was raised from love. I've got anamalume, anasekuru, anambuya, anagogo. I was raised with love, and I was also raised by people who believed in me. And I remember at some point being told, Iwewe, Chaita president of America. You know, that kind of thing. It's not to say I was going to be the president of America, but they were just, to me, I take it that they saw something that I was, So I was raised with love and encouragement. And I have adopted that as my parenting skill, that I raise my children with encouragement. I try very much and to not use negative affirmation on my children.
I know you then managed to finish your A-level, you went to work, and I just want to know whether you once dreamt flying to America or UK. Was this a dream come true for you to come into this country? Obviously, it was after your marriage. And how did you come here?
I never dreamt of myself being in Harare.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Come a TV girl and you thought you were going to be there for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I never dreamt
What was your vision?
I had a vision, but because it was limited on resources, so when I finished my A-levels, it was a bit hazy and I don't know what else will happen. So when I got this job, it was like, this is what it's going to be. So my first time moving to Harare was by marriage. I met my husband whilst I was working in the Victoria Falls. He had come working as well, and I met him through work. And very quickly, he asked me to move in with him to Harare. And I moved to Harare, and I remember being told, meet me at Union Street or Corporation House. And I didn't know, what are you talking about? I struggled quite a lot to maneuver my way. Although I spoke Shona at that time, it was very limited, and it came with an accent because I had been raised to speak Nyanja, Tonga, Nambia, and Ndebele mostly. Yeah, so those are the languages that I was very competent at. So moving to Harare, there was a lot that was happening. I was 20, I was expecting a child, I was moving in with my in-laws, I was moving in with her husband. So a lot happened there, and I was trying to maneuver a lot. I was now a daughter-in-law, managing the family. So I would say I had a lot of love and support, but I also feel like it was a big world for me to get into. There were too many things happening to me at the same time, and I think even I wasn't even conscious of what was happening to me at that time.
But as we always say, God is always with you.
Yeah.
He goes ahead of you and is also behind you.
Yeah.
So whatever was happening, God was trying to teach you the basics of life at a very tender age, but you managed to make it. Take us through then when you started having this idea, or maybe someone thought about migrating to this country. How did that happen? Well, that's a very huge assignment which was ahead of you. My husband was first, he had to leave his job, and I still held a job in Zimbabwe. So he was the one who thought of the idea of moving to England first. And we worked through it together, and he came to England. I have to say my worry at that time was that he was going to leave me. because there was a lot of, when they go to England, they don't come back and they will leave you. So that was one of my first big challenges. Was I was young, I had 2 children. One was a 2-year-old and another one was 4 months at that time, and my husband left and I was left living with my in-laws. I still had to hold a job and still had to look after the extended family until obviously my husband settled. But lucky for me, he was only here for 8 weeks, and he managed to sort things out for me to come. Then the shock came. I remember when I first came, he was sending, what he was saying was all his wages, which it was, but when you were in Zimbabwe, everything was so inflated at that time, 500,000. So a lot of money.
Yeah, 500,000. And then he was telling me, sending me $160. It seemed weird. But one of the things I remember having an argument with him about was that one morning when he left home after I'd arrived, he gave me £20, and they say I was supposed to go into town and buy some clothes, and go and look for work. And I said, why are you giving me 20 pounds? I was so offended. And he was, do you know that the bus is only 50p? Yeah, so those became some of the challenges. And I think when I first came, the excitement was I'm going to join my husband. But I had left a 6-month-old baby who I'd breastfed her for the last time on my way to the airport. I wasn't sure how things were going to go. And here I was, and then reality starts to knock on that I've left a baby. It wasn't, those days we didn't have technology of, WhatsApp calling, video calling and everything. So it took a while before we received some pictures. And I remember one lady came from Zimbabwe and she called us to her house and she said, I've got some things for you. And I went to her house and I found, she had said she's got a parcel, but she had these pictures on her table. And I said, oh, that's such a beautiful baby. Whose baby is it? She looked at me, she said, what are you talking about? That's Regina. And this is the child I'd left at 6 months. And I was seeing her now at 9 months. She had long hair, she had her hair done. I will never forget that because it was one of...
I suppose when we talk of obstacles, struggles, and breaking diaspora barriers, it doesn't just start here. It actually starts by you leaving your own child back home and coming in this country and being able to have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Knowing fairly well that you have got a 6-month-old baby who is back home.
Yeah.
That must have been very challenging as well, isn't it?
It was hard and things became harder. And I remember 2008, we used to have days when we would be told, oh, we could only give the younger one milk or yogurt because there wasn't much, there wasn't anything in the shops or anything. The other child, and then we had yogurt in the fridge, 2 adults together. Yeah, but that time was also bliss for us because we now started to feel like we're a young couple, we're on our own. We did everything together. We went to work together. We worked together. We worked at the same shifts. In its own way, it brought us together because we had time for each other and time to ourselves.
Sometimes they say what you consider as obstacles or difficulties that you may encounter as a couple, that needs your hearts together.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at a particular obstacle with all your eyes.
Yeah.
So it brings you together. Can you share a turning point that pushed you to start building your career in the direction that has brought you this far? Because coming into this country is one thing, looking after family, etc., is one thing. How did you manage to balance all that? Can you take us through the balancing as well as progressing to start building your future, building your career? How did you do that?
I always knew from the time I was about 15 that I wanted to be a lawyer. That I was never confused about. I always knew that. I loved my history and I loved my literature and I like to argue. I like to, not unreasonably, but I do like to, I like a challenge. So I always knew since the age of 15 that I wanted to be a solicitor. So when I came into this country, obviously there were barriers in relation to immigration. So came in as a visitor, applied for tried to apply for a student visa, which didn't work out well. And it went haywire, and then we had to go down the route of the asylum route, which took years. So that took away quite a lot of my career life. By the time we were granted our asylum, we had been in this country for about 6 years.
That's a big chunk of your life.
Yeah, it was a bit. It takes away the fact that I came into this country in 2002, and I only started my law degree in 2008. By that time, I was a mother of 3 as well. So I went to university with 3 young children. My youngest one being 4 months. I also had to hold down a job, so I did 5 nights a week. And when I look back now, I don't know how I did 5 nights a week and looked after 3 children and went to university and still got a good 201 in my law degree. So I do hold an LLB in law. Congratulations. Thank you. What was to come was something I didn't anticipate. So somewhere along the line, when I'd been doing when we had been waiting for our paperwork to come through, there'd been some bills that we had not been able to pay. So I ended up with a CCJ. no one advised me that once you've done a law degree, in order for the Law Society to register you as a solicitor, they would need to credit check you. So I was credit checked. And this is my advice to people coming into the country now, that these things are important. They catch up with you. They might not mean anything now. And I think sometimes when we hold these conversations, people don't realize the impact of it. I didn't realize the impact of how it was going to impact on me. Gone to university for 3 years, got myself an LLB. I've got it now. I'm applying to the Law Society so I can go and do my master's and go to the bar and become a solicitor. And then I was told, no, actually. So I attended an interview in London. I got somewhere I'd gone and done work experience. Yeah. The solicitor was willing to help me through this situation. So they did a reference for me. I attended a meeting in London and I was told, because you've got this CCJ, unfortunately, you cannot be a lawyer. So...
What does CCJ stands for?
County Court Judgment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So basically I had been issued this because I had failed to honor some debts that we had over the years. So that has impacted on me quite a lot, not just with... not just career-wise, mortgage, everywhere where I've gone, anything I've tried to do, even though it's something from like 2006, it carries through, it comes up all the time, it comes up. It has stopped coming up now, obviously, but it impacted and it stayed on record for me for a very long time. It could have been avoided. So it
became a barrier.
It's a big one, and at some point, I have to say, I got to a point where I thought, I've been working as a carer and I've been able to look after the kids. Maybe I can continue doing that. So after the law degree, I went back to work as a carer. But when I had been doing my law degree, I had managed to have the opportunity of doing some work experience at different law firms. And there'd been one particular law firm where I'd worked with somebody who had been intrigued by my energy and my drive and had often said, you've got a lot of energy and you've got a lot. You sound like somebody that could make millions, but it never come to fruition with it. So at some point, I was working for a care agency. I've always worked flexible hours. Another thing I would like to speak to the audience about that. Unfortunately, the structures in this country, when it comes to childcare, sometimes as a couple, you have to manage yourselves. Yeah. You should not have expectations either from the employer or from the government or from the world that they can manage. Things like childcare can be barriers. So I learned very quickly as well that I needed to work flexible hours. So I worked as an agency worker. The difficulty was that it kept me working quite a lot because I didn't know when the shifts would be there and when they would finish. So I worked quite a lot and I didn't spend enough time with the kids. But then the agency I was working for came up with this scheme where they said they were offering people to open branches under their name. What's it called? What's this McDonald's thing? What's it called? Franchising. Yeah, you could franchise. And they had this agreement that they put across, but apparently they were to retain 95% of the proceeds. You would use their timesheets and everything and all of that, but you would retain 5%. I got very excited. This was going to be my gateway to, to living this and maybe setting something of my... So I took this agreement to the solicitor who looked at it and he said, but why do you want to do all of this for 5% just because you're using someone's logo? Do you realize you can do this for yourself? And I said, I can, but I haven't got the money. So we left this conversation at that. At that point, we had moved to down south as a family, but we came back to Manchester. And I came back and I worked as a carer. Then one day, he called me and he said he invited me to a meeting with my now current business partner, Elliot. He sat down with us and he said, right, I've met you both and you guys both seem like you've got something to give, but what you don't have is money. So I'm going to put the money, we'll set up a business.
That's great.
So this is where we talk about God's plan. So this wasn't God's plan. It wasn't in my plan at all.
That takes us to your personal growth, Violet. And let's talk about your personal journey. Breaking barriers starts with the mindset. And I'm sure this lawyer had managed to pick up your brains and knew very well that you would make it. What does being progressive or breaking the diaspora barriers mean to you, and how has that definition evolved in your life? Now we are talking about you starting your own business.
Starting my own business was very difficult because obviously the business isn't making any money at some point. So you have to work and you're not earning from your business.
Or you have to continue breaking barriers.
Yeah, there's always a barrier. So there was quite a point where I had to work in order to live, but I also had to work in order to grow. Yeah, so the two things got to a point where they couldn't be together. So I had to quit the job. And I remember that we got to a point where we had to shut Sky TV. We had to have conversations with the children. And I always explained to people that my hair was part of what I had to lose in order to grow. Because at that time I used to spend quite a lot of money on my hair, but there just wasn't enough money.
Yeah.
It became my identity.
We may not ask you this question, but I have to ask you. Is that one of the reasons why you sometimes love to have no hair? Is it from there?
I prefer my...
Because sometimes you start doing that and you love it that way. And neither am I suggesting that you look different. I think you look even better when you are like that. Now you're keeping hair. I don't know why you have got too much money now. I don't know. But is that the root of all these things?
It's a journey, and sometimes I try and take myself from that. This was a growth phase. Let me try in this. But I think I've become used to that. I think it's my identity because that's what's helped me grow.
Identity with a bit of history.
Yes, I think I like the history that...
might have copied you thinking that, oh, this is lovely.
I think I'm most confident when I walk into a room and my head is bald because I speak boldly.
No,
I don't have to worry. That's my boldest moments. So yes, a lot had to be lost. The business didn't make money. We worked with quite a lot of suppliers that we worked with small margins. There was a point where we worked with margins of £1 per hour. And I don't have to explain to you the overheads that we had to pay. It was very, very difficult. And we had paydays where you almost felt like you want to bury yourself in the ground.
And mind you, remind viewer, this is the beginning of your company, Penine Social Care.
Yes.
And you are the founder as well as director.
Yeah.
And you are telling us that there was a time when you almost got nothing.
Yes.
And yet you were strong enough to keep on working and making ends meet.
Yes, and also continuously explaining to the children that we have no money yet you own a business. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? But
so what was your turning point that pushed you then to start building your career in the direction that you find yourself today?
It was God's hand. COVID came and the business fell completely. The only person that remained in the business was my two children and Lisa. So this was the turning point where loyalty...
Is this where Lisa comes in now?
No, Lisa came in earlier than that. She came in earlier than that, 2014. We started 2013. And we thought we could manage on our own. But as soon as we realized we need other people.
I keep on hearing you say, Lisa. Who is this Lisa?
She was introduced to me through another family, as family friends, but we've quickly realized that we had a lot more in common, and we've remained that way. She was going through her own journey in life, and we became very connected at that time. She was also trying to hold two jobs together, and I invited her over, and I said, "Do you want to come with us on this journey?" So she's joined us. She holds the business together. This is a lady who will say, I am traveling to Greece and I'm going to be on a flight for the next 4 hours. I'm going to divert my phone to you. But when I get there, please divert it back to me. And you're like, but you're going on holiday. She guards her job very jealously. She's the front face for all our staff. They speak to her. Sometimes I even ask her, who is this? And, you know, she's that bridge between people feeling like, oh, the directors are scary and everything. But when COVID hit, we lost all of our clients because at that time we were working as a supplier to nursing homes. So we lost all of our clients and the business fell through. And she was the only person that remained working with us because we had 3 or 4 other clients that we were servicing, but there wasn't sufficient funds. So me and Elliot went on furlough during COVID. There was no money to pay us. Did you hear that? We went on furlough.
I know. And how long have you worked together?
We've worked together since 2014.
Many people, particularly women, sometimes they find it difficult to work with another woman.
Yeah.
But I think what you are showing viewers today is that it is possible to actually work with another woman and share ideas and grow the business together. And not being jealous to anyone, because you are 2 different people who have got ideas that are also different, but you can bring those different ideas together and build your business.
Yeah, we have an open and honest relationship.
Good. What habits or practices have helped you keep moving forward when faced with setbacks?
I think sometimes you've got no choice. Mm-hmm. I think there's a time when life positions you where you have no choice and you have to keep going. Mm-hmm. Yes, you have values and you've got ethics, and when you value other people's ethics as well, and you respect other people, you are at a point where you realize, and accountability. I think accountability is very important. Mm-hmm. You're accountable. You get to a stage where you are accountable to so many and for so many people, that not holding your own values and your ethics is not a choice.
Yeah, it's not, yeah. We are now moving on, Violet, to professional growth and leadership. Tell me about the time you challenged conventional ways of doing things in your business.
Every day. Actually, yeah. So when we first set up this business, the intention was to do supported living. That didn't happen very quickly. We had these ambitions. When you set up a business, you think we're going to do this and we're going to do this, but the reality on the ground doesn't work that way. So we found ourselves doing dom care that wasn't our intention. So I found myself working quite a lot as a carer and having to wake up. The first contract we got was in Berry, and then we set up a respite house, and then everybody, I remember 2 years ago ringing someone and saying, I've decided I want to look after children. She was like, children? Hey, you don't want Ofsted? And I was like, but she was doing it. And she was like, you don't want to do it. And I was like, but you are doing it. You are doing it. How come you are doing it? Yeah, I can do it. And she insisted. Then we spoke to the local authority and I said, I'm sure we can do this. So sometimes, I know it's a big risk, but I take a lot of risks sometimes, but I stand for them.
Mm-hmm. And how do you balance all these things you do with family?
Again, I think it's the works of God, like I said before.
And I think you miss social life as well, because we see you sometimes, and we know that you balance that very well. But all other these things, can you take somebody somewhere how you do it?
I think it's understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. There are some things that, although they are challenging and they're stressful, they keep me going because they make me. I am the kind of person that if I'm faced with something that is quite challenging, I have to find something that's challenging me again in the background so that it gives me that push and that drive. I know I've got this deadline I need to meet, but you know what? I'm going to do the laundry for the next 2 weeks and wash sheets and curtains and everything just so I can get to this. So, but also, I do have a lot of support from my family as well.
How do you inspire people who want to walk in the direction that you have taken? People who may be thinking, I want to do business in this country. What can you say to them?
That is possible. Everything is possible. I never dreamt of myself being in the UK and being a businesswoman. But when an opportunity comes, take it and learn from other people. I think one of the biggest things we have, especially in my consultancy job, I get a lot of people that call, and when you are trying to advise them, they're like, oh no, but I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it that way. Learn from other people. Learn from other people who've walked through that journey. It doesn't mean to say that they know everything, but learn from other people and grab any opportunity. Saying that, one of the challenges when we talked about challenges that I've faced is being a female Black leader. It's very hard. It's very, very hard, and I face this barrier every day, every week. I have to almost justify that I am the owner of Pennine, and it doesn't only come from people of other nationalities. It also comes, especially sometimes, mostly from your own people as well. Where I've been to services where I'm introducing my manager and I'm saying, I'm just come, and I sit there and I show my badge, and then at the end of the introduction, I get someone saying, so to the other person, is this the person you're going to be sending to be the carer? So it is a big barrier, that one. But I also struggle a lot with Black males that work for me. They struggle because one particular guy actually said to me, "You are just a woman. You can't tell me what to do." When we were trying to deal with the situation. So, especially to those females that want to set up something, I think if you know, you will know. Yeah. You will know you can do this. You will know. I'm the kind of person that will get to somebody's house and see some rocks outside. I'm like, you can make money with this because I know. So you will know. Don't let anybody else dictate your journey. You can work at it, seek the right help, and be mindful of doing it in a mature and respectful way towards others. So sometimes you'll find yourself humbling yourself very much.
I've also heard from other directors, especially in social care, they struggle to get contracts. Do you have this problem here in Manchester? I
know a lot of people come up with, you have to, because you've got the white person, that's why your business is doing good. I think for me, the opposite is true. I've got very good people skills. And generally, I'm the one that is on the outside. So I'm actually the operations director. The other director is a managing director. He oversees more the financial aspects. Build relationships with people. Work won't always come through frameworks or the paperwork that you're filling in. Talk to people. Go to events, local events that are planned. Even if you feel like they are not for you, you'll meet people there. Speak to social workers. And just get yourself out there and get people to know you.
What social cultural issues shaped your journey, and how do you engage with it?
I think I was raised from a background of people that loved me. Love was important. Empathy was important for me. I hold those things to high regard. What sort of legacy do you think you're going to leave to your children and those people who are following you following your business etiquette? What sort of legacy are you going to leave? I think I've already started instilling that, in particular to my children. When my mother was still alive, she had a nickname for me. She called me Thecha. Because she said, my mother used to call me Thecha, Margaret Thatcher. Yeah. So
the Iron Lady.
Yes, I'm the Iron Lady.
Be specific. Because people understand, because Margaret Thatcher is Margaret Thatcher, but what was Margaret Thatcher known as the Iron Lady? So there's something in
I used to get very upset because my husband used to call me Olivia Pope or Theresa May, and I would get very angry. He was like, because you are principled. You're very, very principled. You do things on principle. You don't just do things, you follow a structure, and once you have a belief in something,
go for it.
You go for it. And I'm also a big advocate for the girl child. Yeah, I think it stems quite a lot from how I felt like life could have been different for me if my mother hadn't advocated for me as a girl.
People that come to your aid as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a strong advocate, and I believe that one of the strongest gifts you can give a girl child is financial independence. And I've got 3 daughters, and they are all very well equipped from the age of 16
to face the world of today,
to face the
century.
Yeah, we are there as parents, but they are very equipped and very, very independent.
You've said a lot of things, Violet, and I think you don't mind us maybe sharing with the viewers your contacts, because if you're a consultant in the care industry, there are people who are struggling. They may need some form of assistance, and so we'll be sharing with the viewers your contact details in case somebody wants help from you as well. Let's now move on to the faith aspect. Obviously, you've already alluded to the fact that you are where you are because God has walked with you, which is great. Where do you see God in all this? Is it in every aspect of life, or how has your faith played in all this?
I was raised in a Christian family. I was born and raised Catholic. Yeah, I was baptized and confirmed in the Catholic Church in a Tonga service. And I did all my catechism in Tonga and Nambia, and I attended a Tonga and Nambia church for the best part of my childhood. I moved to Anglican through marriage because my husband is. However, my grandfather was also a pastor in the Anglican church. So I am raised from a Christian family. Here and there I may stray away or but I'm not confused about my faith. But I do feel the hand of God, and I believe that this is not by a lot of things that have happened in my life. It's not an accident. It's definitely
God leading your way.
Yeah. So I always say when I pray, please help me to align my plans with the plans you have for me.
You've said a lot about your background and the Tonga people, and you were even struggling to speak Shona because you grew up among the Tonga people. I want you to say something, words of thanks in Tonga to the Tonga people, because we now have you here, but your background matters as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot you have said about the Tonga people. They looked after you. They cared for you. Can you say something in Tonga? So the Tonga people will say, that's our child.
I probably will go more with the Nyanja Chewa, because my mother was Nyanja Chewa. Ni pasa ko moni kwanu monse ni kondwera nikuni kuira kwa mnachita kuti nisike nthawi ino.
Yeah, she's simply saying, I thank you all for me to be who I am is because of you. Am I right?
Yes.
I got it. That's great. As we now come to the closing chapter of our interview, what advice would you give to anyone dreaming of setting up a business in diaspora, knowing that it's difficult?
First of all, break the barriers.
Break that barrier.
Break the barriers, because the barriers are going to be there.
And there are many.
There are many, but also be realistic about the expectations. I think I've seen a lot of people, especially the ones I consult, who look at me today and this has been a journey.
You fell from heaven.
Yeah, I've worked a lot. There's been barriers, and there's still barriers, and there's still a lot of challenges that happen in every day. There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to success. That's one thing. In this country, work with the law, work with the policies, and understand the system of what you are trying to get into. Yeah, that's very important.
Maybe that brings me to a point. Although you haven't mentioned it, sometimes people, when they're stopped by the police, they always think they have stopped me because I've got a different, skin texture. If you work with the law properly and correctly here, do not fear. Just align yourself with the law, and everything else will not matter.
I also think I've also got to a point where, when I also sit in a room, sit with 6 white males, I don't think I'm different. I don't think I'm different. If you know what you're doing and you're doing everything right, always remember that if you've got evidence to show that you're doing everything right, everything will work for you. Yeah.
If you could speak to your younger self, what would you say?
Allow the journey, because skipping steps, I always say that if you try and help the caterpillar out of the cocoon, it won't come out beautifully. Allow yourself to be a cocoon, and then you will fly and have beautiful wings. Yeah, it's a process.
What's this one lesson that you want to leave to the listeners today? Just this one big thing that you feel you just want to share, because the opportunity is here now.
That diaspora is challenging.
Yeah.
Diaspora is challenging, and there have been times when we've all wanted to give up on staying in the country, to give up on starting that business, to give up on that course, to give up on going to that shift. You just need to realize that your journey, whilst it is unique, it is not different to anyone else's difficulties. So you need to keep pushing. You need to keep pushing. It's not about handouts. Diaspora is not about handouts, definitely. It has no shortcuts. It has no deals. It has no deals. So work ethic is very important. Yeah.
To our viewers, I'm sure you've heard Violet Gutu, an entrepreneur, director of 2 companies, a consultant, a mentor, a mother, a wife, who has managed to juggle around and breaking all these barriers. And today, she is now in a different position altogether. And I just want to reiterate what she's been talking about, that, your time will come. You don't have to follow the wind or to try and emulate someone else. You are who you are. Your time will come, because God will never leave or forsake you. So I think we have managed to learn a lot from Violet, and I'll be sharing some details of her, so that at least if you want to speak to her, that would be great. Once again, Violet, on behalf of the team, the crew, and the Zimbabwe National Anglican Fellowship, I just want to say thank you very much. But I know you are still very young and you want to do more. Continue breaking those barriers, Violet, because there are so many of them. And you may even break barriers for others as well. So yes. Breaking diaspora barriers is something that we'll continue to talk about, so that people may learn and also get inspired by what other people will be sharing. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.